I woke up from surgery groggy and ready to go home. But as my daughter leaned in, she didn't offer a hug. She whispered the words that shattered my world. "Mom, the house is gone. We sold it. You're going to assisted living." While I was under anesthesia, fighting for my health, my own flesh and blood were hammering a for sale sign into my lawn. My son, the lawyer, and my daughter, the realtor, saw my life's work as nothing more than clutter to be liquidated for their own debts. They thought I was a relic, a frail old woman they could discard and forget. But they forgot one thing. I didn't just raise them. I built the empire they were standing on. And I knew a secret buried in my husband's old ledgers. A secret that could burn their world to the ground. Welcome to Revenge Insight. Today's tale, The Forgotten Matriarch. Stay tuned to see how I took back my home and left my children with nothing but the cold reality of their own greed. Martha had spent over 40 years building a life of quiet, unwavering dignity. Her home, a sprawling Victorian estate with a wraparound porch and hand-carved banisters, was more than just a piece of real estate. To Martha, it was a living museum of her life's work. Every creak in the floorboards told a story. Every stain on the kitchen counter was a memory of a birthday cake or a holiday dinner. It was the sanctuary where she had raised her 3 children, Sarah, James, and Toby, after her husband Henry passed away far too young. Henry had been the love of her life. When he died, he left her with a small textile business and a mountain of responsibilities. Martha didn't crumble. She worked 2 jobs. She wore the same coat for 10 winters just so her children could have the best education. She was a woman of substance, a pillar of the community who believed that if you planted seeds of kindness, you would reap a harvest of love. Sarah, her eldest, was now a top-tier realtor, a woman who knew the price of everything but the value of nothing. James, the middle child, was a high-powered corporate lawyer, polished and cold as a marble floor. And then there was Toby, the youngest, who struggled to find his footing in the world but always had a kind word for his mother. Martha loved them all equally. Or at least she tried to. As Martha turned 75, her body began to betray her. A nagging, sharp pain in her hip, which she had ignored for years, finally became unbearable. The doctors were clear. She needed surgery or she would never walk again. "Don't worry for even a second, Mom," Sarah had said during a Sunday visit. Her eyes focused more on her ringing smartphone than on her mother's pale face. "Go get the surgery. James and I have everything under control. We'll handle the house, the bills, everything. You just focus on your recovery." James had arrived later that afternoon with a stack of papers. "Mom, for me to handle the insurance and the hospital bureaucracy, I need you to sign this temporary power of attorney. It's standard procedure. It just gives me the authority to speak to the doctors and the bank while you're incapacitated." Martha looked at the man she had taught to read and write. She looked at his expensive suit and his confident smile. Why would she doubt him? He was her son, her blood. With a trembling hand, she signed the documents. She didn't read the small print. She didn't see the clauses that gave James total control over her physical and financial assets. As the nurses wheeled her into the operating room, the cold air of the hospital chilled her skin. But her heart was warm. She thought about her garden, the roses that would be blooming soon, and how lucky she was to have children who cared so much. She closed her eyes as the anesthesia took hold, unaware that at that very moment, Sarah was already uploading photos of Martha's home to a private auction site for real estate investors. The fog of anesthesia was thick and heavy. When Martha finally opened her eyes, the world was a blur of fluorescent lights and the rhythmic beeping of monitors. Her hip throbbed with a dull, insistent ache. For days she drifted in and out of sleep, waiting for a familiar face to appear. But Sarah didn't come. James didn't come. It was only Toby who sat by her bed, his face pale and his hands shaking as he held hers. "Where are your siblings, Toby?" Martha asked, her voice a dry, rasped whisper. They're busy, Mom. Business is intense right now, Toby replied, but he couldn't look her in the eye. 3 weeks passed. Martha was moved to a rehabilitation center to learn how to walk again. She pushed herself through the pain, motivated by one single thought: going home. She missed her bed. She missed the way the morning sun hit the oak table in her breakfast nook. The day before her scheduled release, Sarah and James finally appeared. They didn't bring flowers. They didn't bring a welcome home card. They brought a brochure for a place called the Golden Meadows Assisted Living Center. Mom, we've done a lot of thinking, Sarah began, her voice practiced and artificial. The house, it's just too big. It's dangerous for you. All those stairs, the maintenance. It's a death trap for someone in your condition. Martha frowned, clutching the handles of her walker. What are you talking about? I've lived there for 40 years. I know every inch of those stairs. I'm doing fine. James stepped forward, his lawyer persona in full effect. Mom, you're not understanding. The house is already gone. We closed the sale 4 days ago. The new owners are moving in on Monday. The room went silent. Martha felt the air leave her lungs as if she had been punched. Sold? You sold my home? Without telling me? Without my consent? You gave us power of attorney, Mom, James said coldly. We did what was best for your financial security. The proceeds have been moved into a trust. We've used a portion of it to pay for your first 2 years at Golden Meadows. It's a luxury facility. You'll be much happier there. Martha's voice trembled with a mixture of grief and rising fury. Happier? You sold my memories. You sold the bed your father died in. You sold the garden I planted with my own hands. Where's my furniture? Where are my photos? It was mostly clutter, Mom, Sarah sighed, checking her gold watch. We kept the important stuff in a small storage unit. The rest was sold at auction to clear the house for the new buyers. We didn't have time to sort through every dusty box. Martha looked at her children and realized she was looking at strangers. They hadn't saved her life. They had liquidated it. They had treated her like a liability to be managed, a problem to be solved. As they walked out of the room, leaving her alone in the sterile silence, Martha didn't cry. The titanium in her hip felt cold, but the fire starting to burn in her soul was white-hot. Golden Meadows was exactly what the brochure promised: a gilded cage. It was clean, efficient, and utterly soulless. Martha sat in her new room, surrounded by 4 walls that felt like they were closing in on her. The furniture was modern and uncomfortable. The only items she had from her past were a few sweaters, a Bible, and a small box of sewing supplies. Sarah and James stopped calling. The checks had been signed, the house had been sold, and Martha was no longer a priority. They had taken the lion's share of the profit, millions of dollars, to fund their own extravagant lifestyles. Toby continued to visit every Sunday. One rainy afternoon, he sat on the edge of her bed, his head in his hands. Mom, I'm so sorry. I tried to argue with them, but James threatened to cut me off, and Sarah, she just shouted over me. They used the money for themselves, Mom. Sarah bought that beach house she's been eyeing in Malibu. James, he was in deep with some bad investments. He used your house to save his own skin. Martha listened, her expression unreadable. They think I'm done, Toby. They think because I'm 75 and I have a new hip, my mind is gone too. They think I'm just a relic waiting for the end. What can we do, Mom? Toby asked. The papers you signed. James made sure they were ironclad. Martha's eyes sharpened. James is a good lawyer, Toby, but your father was a better businessman. He knew that one day the children might get greedy. He told me once, Martha, if the world ever tries to take what's yours, look in the silk. What does that mean? Toby asked, confused. Bring me the box, Toby. The one labeled sewing patterns. Sarah and James thought it was just old trash. They didn't even open it. When Toby brought the box the following week, Martha dug through the layers of vintage silk and wool. Hidden in the lining of a heavy velvet coat was a small leather-bound ledger and a series of original incorporation documents for the family's textile business. James had taken over the business years ago, claiming it was nearly bankrupt and that he was doing her a favor by managing the remaining patents. But as Martha pored over the documents with the help of a fellow resident, Mr. Henderson, a retired forensic accountant, the truth began to emerge. James didn't just manage the company, Martha, Mr. Henderson said, his eyes glowing with professional interest. He's been hiding the royalties. These patents for the synthetic weave your husband developed. They're used in almost every high-end athletic brand today. He's been diverting millions of dollars into shell companies for over a decade. And here, look at this clause. Martha leaned in. Your husband didn't leave the company to James. He left the majority share 51% to you in a life trust. James only has the right to manage it as long as you are incapacitated or willing. By selling your home and forcing you into this facility, he was trying to prove you were no longer fit to hold your shares. Martha's hand tightened on her cane. So he didn't just steal my house. He's been stealing my life for 10 years. Exactly, Henderson nodded. But there's a catch for him. If you can prove you are of sound mind, and if you can prove he's been embezzling, you don't just get your money back. You get the power to dissolve everything he's built. Martha began her counterattack with the precision of a grandmaster. She didn't call James to argue. She didn't scream at Sarah. Instead, she became the perfect resident. She attended every physical therapy session. She played bridge in the lounge. She acted as if she had accepted her fate. On the phone with her children, she sounded frail and forgetful. Oh, Sarah dear. It's so lovely here. I'm just so tired all the time. I can't remember where I put my glasses. Could you send a little extra for the gift shop? Sarah would laugh and tell her friends how easy it was to manage her aging mother. James would boast at his firm about how he had secured his mother's future while protecting the family estate. They were arrogant. They were comfortable. And that was exactly what Martha wanted. Behind the scenes, Martha was working with Mr. Henderson and a legal team recommended by Judge Evelyn Gable, the daughter of another resident. They worked in the facility's library late at night, away from the prying eyes of the staff. We need a catalyst, Martha's new lawyer, a sharp woman named Diane, told her. We have the evidence of embezzlement, but if we go to court now, James will use his influence to drag it out for years. We need to catch him in a position where he cannot lie. The gala, Martha said simply. Every year, James's law firm hosted a massive charity gala. It was the social event of the year for the city's elite. This year, James was being honored as Partner of the Year. He had invited judges, senators, and the wealthiest investors in the state. He won't invite me, Martha said. He told me the noise would be too much for me. He's ashamed of me now. I'm just the crazy old mother in the home. Good, Diane smiled. Then that's where we strike. We don't just sue him, Martha. We strip him of his reputation. In his world, reputation is the only currency that matters. For the next month, Martha trained. She walked miles around the facility's indoor track, building her strength until she no longer needed the walker. She practiced her speech. She coordinated with Toby, who was acting as her inside man, gathering the final pieces of evidence from James's office. Toby was terrified, but for the first time in his life, he felt like he was doing something that mattered. Mom, if this fails, they'll ruin me too. he whispered during a visit. Martha grabbed his hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Toby, they already ruined us the moment they sold that house. We aren't fighting for money. We're fighting for the truth. And the truth is a heavy hammer." The night of the gala arrived. The grand ballroom of the Pierre Hotel was a sea of black ties, silk gowns, and the scent of expensive lilies. James stood near the stage, looking every bit the successful, powerful man he imagined himself to be. Sarah was by his side, draped in a necklace that Martha recognized. It was a piece she had inherited from her own mother, something Sarah must have saved from the auction. James took to the stage, the spotlight reflecting off his polished watch. "Success," he began, his voice booming through the hall, "is built on foundation. It is built on the values passed down from generation to generation. My father taught me the importance of integrity, and it is in his honor that I accept this award tonight." The audience began to clap, a polite, thunderous sound. "Integrity, James? Is that what we're calling it now?" The voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that silenced the room. The double doors at the back of the ballroom swung open. Martha walked in. She wasn't wearing a hospital gown or a housecoat. She was wearing a stunning floor-length midnight blue gown. Her silver hair was styled perfectly. She walked with a steady, graceful stride, leaning only slightly on a silver-topped cane. Toby walked beside her, looking taller than he ever had. The crowd gasped. James's face went from pale to a ghostly white. Sarah dropped her champagne glass, the crystal shattering on the marble floor. "Mom!" James stammered into the microphone, his voice cracking. "What are you doing here? You're not well. Security, please, my mother is confused, she needs her medication." "I've never been more clear-headed, James," Martha said, stopping at the base of the stage. She looked up at the sea of judges and lawyers. "I apologize for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen, but as the 51% shareholder of the company that funds this very firm's primary account, I believe I have the right to speak." A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. James tried to laugh it off. "Shares? Mom, you're talking about the textile company? That business has been a shell for years. You're confused." "Am I?" Martha reached into her clutch and pulled out a small remote. She pointed it at the giant projector screen behind James, the one meant to show his career highlights. Instead of photos of James, the screen filled with bank statements, transfers to shell companies in the Caymans, forged signatures on property deeds, and finally the forensic audit showing 10 years of stolen royalties. "James didn't save the family business," Martha announced to the stunned room. "He's been cannibalizing it. He sold my home while I was in surgery to cover the losses he incurred through illegal gambling and failed real estate ventures. He used your firm's name to shield his fraud." The senior partners of the firm stood up, their faces grim. The silence in the room was absolute. The gala didn't end with an award. It ended with a police escort. Because Martha hadn't just brought bank statements, she had brought the district attorney's office. In the weeks that followed, the story became a national scandal. "The Mansion of Lies" was the headline on every major news outlet. James was arrested for grand larceny, forgery, and elder abuse. Sarah, whose beach house and realtor business were funded entirely by the stolen house money, was named as a co-conspirator. They tried to beg. They sent lawyers to Golden Meadows to negotiate. "Mom, think of the family name," Sarah cried during a supervised visit. "If we go to prison, the family legacy is ruined." Martha looked at her daughter through the plexiglass. "You didn't care about the family legacy when you sold my wedding photos for $50 at an auction. You didn't care about the name when you left me in a facility and stopped answering my calls. You didn't care about me until I became the one with the power. We can pay you back," James shouted, his expensive suit now wrinkled and stained. "Every cent. Just drop the charges." "It's not about the money, James," Martha said softly. "It was never about the money. I would have given you everything I had if you had only asked. If you had only been honest. But you chose to steal. You chose to treat your mother like a burden to be discarded. And now you will live with the consequences of that choice." James's firm dissolved his partnership within 48 hours. His assets were frozen. Sarah's Malibu home was seized. Every luxury they had built on the foundation of Martha's life was stripped away. But Martha wasn't finished. She used her position as the majority shareholder to take full control of the textile patents. She fired the board members who had looked the other way while James embezzled the funds. She hired Mr. Henderson as her new CFO. And then she went back to her old neighborhood. The Victorian house had been bought by an investment group that was planning to tear it down and build 3 modern townhouses. They had run into zoning issues and were desperate to sell. Martha walked in with a cash offer, funded by the recovered royalties, and bought her own home back for 70 cents on the dollar. Moving back into the house was a quiet, solemn affair. Most of her old furniture was gone, sold to strangers across the country. But with Toby's help, she began to rebuild. They scoured auction sites and antique shops. They found a table that looked like her old one. They bought new rugs, new curtains, and new memories. The garden, however, was still there. It was overgrown and choked with weeds, but the roses were still alive. Martha spent her mornings with her hands in the dirt, the sun warming her back. Her hip felt strong. Her mind felt at peace. Toby moved into the guest wing. He finally found his calling, managing the philanthropic arm of Martha's company, using the textile profits to fund housing for seniors who had been displaced by their families. He had finally found his footing, not through greed but through service. James and Sarah's lives were a different story. Without Martha's money and without their reputations, they crumbled. James lost his license to practice law. Sarah was barred from the Realtors Association. They moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a part of the city they used to mock. They wrote letters. Thousands of them. Letters of apology. Letters of desperation. Letters of blame. Martha kept them in a shoebox unopened. One day, Toby asked her, "Mom, will you ever forgive them?" Martha stopped pruning her roses and looked up at the grand Victorian facade. "Forgiveness is for the heart, Toby. Justice is for the world. I have forgiven them in my heart long ago. Otherwise, I would be as bitter and hollow as they are. But the world requires them to learn that you cannot build a life on the ruin of others." The community rallied around her. She became a symbol of resilience. People started calling her the Iron Matriarch. She didn't mind the name. It was a reminder that even the softest heart can be forged into something unbreakable when it is tested by fire. 5 years passed. Martha sat on her wraparound porch, a glass of iced tea in her hand. The evening was warm, and the scent of blooming jasmine filled the air. Toby was in the kitchen, humming a tune as he prepared dinner. Martha looked down at her hands. They were spotted with age and lined with the history of her life. She looked at the diamond ring on her finger, the one she had bought back from a pawn shop after Sarah had sold it. It glittered in the twilight. Her children were out of prison now, but they were ghosts. They lived small, quiet lives, working menial jobs, avoided by the circle of elite friends they once prized. They had learned the hardest lesson of all. That wealth is a shadow, but character is a rock. Martha had updated her will. The house would go to Toby, with a stipulation that it could never be sold as long as it stood. The textile business would become a non-profit foundation. James and Sarah were not mentioned, not out of spite, but because they had already taken their inheritance when they sold the house 5 years ago. They had made their choice. A car pulled up to the curb. It was a modest sedan. A woman stepped out. It was Sarah. She looked older, tired, her designer clothes replaced by a simple department store dress. She stood at the edge of the lawn, looking up at the porch. Martha didn't move. She didn't wave. She simply watched. Sarah stood there for a long time, her eyes fixed on the garden they had once played in. She looked like she wanted to say something, but the weight of the past was too heavy. After a few minutes, she got back into her car and drove away. Martha took a slow sip of her tea. She felt no malice. She felt no joy in Sarah's sadness. She only felt the profound, quiet peace of a woman who had fought for her own soul and won. "Dinner's ready, Mom," Toby called from the door. Martha stood up, her hip moving smoothly, her silver cane clicking rhythmically on the wooden floor. She paused at the door and looked out one last time at her garden, her home, and her life. The forgotten matriarch was forgotten no more. She had built her own empire, not out of bricks and mortar, but out of truth, integrity, and the iron will to survive. And as she stepped inside and closed the door, the house felt warm. It felt full. Finally, truly felt like home. Martha sat on her porch, the evening breeze carrying the scent of the roses she had fought to save. She had her home, her dignity, and her peace. Her children learned the hard way that a mother's love is infinite, but her justice is absolute. This story is a reminder to us all. Wealth is a shadow, but character is a rock. Never mistake a person's kindness for weakness, and never assume that age has dimmed the fire of a person who has spent a lifetime building their legacy. If you enjoyed Martha's journey and believe that justice should always prevail, please give this video a like. It helps us bring more of these powerful stories to light. Now, I want to hear from you. Did Martha do the right thing by showing mercy at the end? Or should she have let the law take its full course? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your wisdom and perspective are what make this community strong. Don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Insight and hit the notification bell. We have many more tales of cunning comebacks and sweet justice waiting for you. I'm Revenge Insight. Stay wise, stay strong, and always protect your peace. Until next time.